talking about mangoes of Jamaica. Amongst our customers, I would say people from Jamaica are maybe the most passionate about mango. East Indian tree. This is one of our Julie trees, one of several Bombay trees. So Nelson is a variety that is from Jamaica. Okay, this mango behind us is known in Jamaica as the stringy. They seek out mango even more than people from other countries in the world that have mangoes commonly.
Hello everybody, welcome to Fruitful Trees. This is Alex from Tropical Acres Farms, and we've been talking about different mangoes from different countries. And today we're going to be talking about mangoes from Jamaica. We're in front of this giant tree next to this giant guy here. We're going to be talking about all the different trees in Jamaica. Some are small and some are super big, but people love these mangoes. So thanks for having us out and educating us on these.
Sure. So I'm excited that people are going to learn a little bit about the mangoes that Jamaica has to offer. Mango is so important in Jamaica, and amongst the mango growing regions of the world, Jamaica has a special place in the heart of mango enthusiasts.
All right, here we go, everybody. Get ready. Here we go.
The first one we're going to discuss right next to me here is our East Indian tree. Now, East Indian is a variety that is originally from Jamaica as far as we know, but it is almost certainly descended from mangoes that were brought to Jamaica from India, from southern India. And it's very, very similar, both in appearance and flavor and texture, to mangoes that are grown in South India that are called Rasalu mangoes. And I think the one that it most closely resembles is the Charuca Rasalu. But at any rate, in Jamaica, this is considered by many to be the most prized of the Jamaican mangoes. In fact, from what my understanding is, that in Jamaica, East Indian commands a higher price at market than the other varieties do. So it's very beloved there, and it's one of the most commonly requested varieties by Jamaican customers here in Florida. It is a very, very fibrous mango. It is one of the most fibrous mangoes we grow. And for that reason, it's generally considered to be a juice mango. So it's usually not sliced. It's pretty hard to slice this mango. It's usually squeezed and kind of drank. So now in Jamaica, a lot of people will strip this mango with their teeth, if you can believe that. They can tolerate the fiber, although some prefer to just squeeze it and bite a piece out and suck the juice out. My preference when consuming this mango is to squeeze it like an orange or a grapefruit or something over a bowl or a glass, and to drink the nectar that way. And anyway, it has a very strong, what we call Indian, West Indian type flavor. Very robust, a lot of spice, extremely rich and sweet. And some resin too. So it very much fits that traditional Indian flavored mold, if you will. And it's one of the most spectacular tasting mangoes to me, although it is a little bit difficult to consume. Unfortunately, East Indian is very, very disease prone. Now in Jamaica, they fruit pretty well. But here in South Florida, they can often struggle. Now, our East Indian has fruited traditionally pretty well for us, but we're in a pretty optimal location, and this year was no exception. It bore a very large crop. We are nearing the end of its season at this point, but you'll have to believe me when I say this tree was absolutely loaded with fruit. We had to prop them up off the ground, and there are still mangoes on this tree. Probably several dozen, including some up in the canopy. It hasn't been a terribly aggressive tree for us. It started fruiting at a pretty young age, and we've never had to do a hard prune on it. This tree at this point is like 11 or 12 years old. So not too bad for a mango tree in South Florida. It's not a dwarf, but it's not terribly aggressive here. And it's an early season mango, so we can usually expect them to start by the end of May or beginning of June most years. And it's very prone to anthracnose, powdery mildew, and bacterial spot. So we actually have to spray this tree quite a bit to get the fruit to show up and not fall apart on us. I discovered within a few years that it was, in addition to being prone to anthracnose, it's pretty prone to bacterial black spot too, unfortunately. So this is not a variety that I leap to recommend to people that have never had it before. Even people from Jamaica, I try to dissuade them from planting it, although very often they still want to plant it anyway. But if you're somebody who grows mangoes in Florida for a living, or at least has a business selling fruit, at some point you will realize there's a lot of demand for this, and you will get phone calls from Jamaican people asking for this one and Julie, East Indian and Julie. It'll get drummed into your head. So, because those are their two most popular varieties. So if you are considering growing this mango, you need to take into consideration that it may not perform well for you here in South Florida. But if you're close to the ocean and you're willing to spray your tree possibly, you might have some success. And there are people individually in parts of Florida that are more remote or more inland that actually do have some success with East Indian, but I would say that they're the exception to the rule, and that the vast majority that try to grow this have pretty poor fruiting results with it, unfortunately. So the fruit, even over here, will come out very spotted when it's ripe, or as they ripen. That's normal, and that happens actually in Jamaica too. East Indian does get anthracnose there, post-harvest anthracnose on the fruit. So anyway, what else can I say about this? I do enjoy this mango. I sell most of the fruit to customers from Jamaica. Sometimes we'll put them in our premium mixes. We usually explain to people, and we have it on our website, that this is a mango that you're better off trying to drink rather than slice and eat, like in the traditional sense. So,
is there a non-fibrous mango that tastes similar to this one?
Yeah. One of the closest that I've had is one of Gary Zill's hybrids called Lady's Choice. Lady's Choice was a seedling of East Indian. Now, East Indian is a polyembryonic mango, which means that much of the time when you plant an East Indian seed, it comes true, but it doesn't always come true. And so Gary planted some East Indian seeds when he did his project back in the 90s, and this Lady's Choice mango is similar. It's not identical though. Other mangoes that share some of the flavor traits that the East Indian has, sometimes I taste a little bit of Valkyrie in it. Again, this isn't precise, so they can be different, depending on the year or the day or whatever. What else? I mean, like I said, it's in that West Indian flavor group. So like mangoes, like you'll find some similarities to mangoes like Jakarta, Sunrise, Bombay, things like that. But East Indian is somewhat unique in its own way. So it's got the resin, and it's got the spice, but it's certainly different from those as well. Like that's just kind of the flavor group it belongs to. So
do you pick these ripe on the tree or unripe?
Yeah, I usually, unless we're shipping them to somebody, which is extremely rare, we usually don't ship this mango because of how badly it spots. We usually pick them when they're just starting to soften on the tree, which is often when they're still green. They tree ripen great. It's not one of those mangoes that you have to pick green. You can pick them green, but you got to make sure you're catching them at the right point, because they don't taste as good when they're picked like too, well, no mango tastes as good when it's picked too green, but my preference is to let them turn on the tree.
Do these turn any color?
Yes, they actually can get nice color. Well, I don't have any left on the tree that are really sun exposed, but here's one that ripened on the tree. You can see how spotted it gets. So this isn't unusual. This one's like at this point almost overripe probably, and certainly not saleable.
But they get yellowish. They
can get yellowish, and they actually can turn orange or even a little pink or red. But I don't see, let me see. This one's starting to turn on the top.
Okay.
You won't be able to see it, and I don't really feel like picking that one, but, well, anyway, we have pictures on our website of what it looks like when it's like kind of pretty looking. So,
do you know where the name East Indian came from?
I presume it's just because it was brought to Jamaica from India, or at least perhaps by seed. It's possible that people brought these Rasalu type mangoes from southern India to Jamaica. There was, back when the British ruled India and Jamaica, like in the 19th century and prior, there was quite a bit of trade and travel between India and Jamaica. So probably it was a reference to the fact that it was from the East Indies, not from the West Indies, which of course Jamaica is part of. And, you know, that was the distinction. So, but unlike most mangoes from India, this one's polyembryonic, which suggests that it probably hybridized with something. Well, it was a hybrid of, I should say, a polyembryonic type and one of these monoembryonic Indian varieties. So,
all right, East Indian.
all right, yes, this is one of our Julie trees. It's the oldest of them. This tree is at this point probably about 12 years of age, and this variety is one of the most popular in Jamaica. In fact, I'll let Jamaicans debate as to whether it's more popular or less than the East Indian. It's certainly very common in Jamaica, but its place of origin is open for debate. There are those that believe it probably originated in Trinidad rather than Jamaica and was brought from Trinidad to Jamaica, but Jamaicans certainly claim it as a native mango of theirs, and I won't get into that discussion. It is very common throughout the Caribbean. Besides Jamaica, you can find it in Trinidad and Tobago, and you can find it in some of the other Caribbean islands as well. So Julie probably traces its ancestry to India originally in some way. It was probably a seedling in the Caribbean, perhaps was a seedling in the Caribbean, but a seedling of mangoes that were probably brought over from the Indian subcontinent. So it is a monoembryonic mango. It's not very big, and it does fruit okay here for us, in, or at least in our area of South Florida, and it usually makes multiple crops. And right now we're past its first crop, so this tree had a substantial amount of fruit earlier in the season, and now we're kind of just starting to get some of its, it probably had 3 crops on it, if I'm being honest with you. This tree flowers very, very willingly here in Florida and in the Caribbean as well. It does not need cold weather to flower. It can flower off of drought stress, which isn't surprising given that it thrives in an area that doesn't see much cold weather. It has a bit of an issue where it can flower and make too many male flowers, and this has happened to some of its progeny and descendants also. It was a variety introduced to Florida a very long time ago. I believe Julie was probably introduced to Florida about 120 years ago or so, in that range. It was in the early 1900s, I think, that it was brought here to Florida. It was already around in the Caribbean by some point in the 19th century. So, it's got a very rich, complex flavor. A lot of people taste coconut in Julie, but it's certainly got some spice component too. It's not anywhere near as resinous most of the time as some of the West Indian flavored mangoes happen to be. It does have a little bit of fiber. It's not truly fiber free. In Jamaica, a lot of times it's known as Saint Julian rather than Julie. So some Jamaicans just call it Saint Julian instead of Julie. Let me see if I have a mature one on the tree in here. Here we go. So you see this one's not really bleeding any sap.
So it stays green?
Well, if it's inside of the canopy, it will stay green or maybe turn like an orangish yellowish color. But when they get sun exposure, they can be quite pretty. They'll get some reddish blush on the shoulders. So, and they don't usually get much bigger than this. And a lot of times they'll actually come out smaller. But this one was picked inside of the canopy so not much color to it. Oftentimes they'll get this tear stain anthracnose and kind of have a dirtied appearance. When you bring this mango out west, okay, in the more interior humid sections of Palm Beach County, a lot of times it doesn't fruit very well. Even over here it can struggle a bit if it's making too many male flowers, but they generally seem to do better near the coast, and that's the case in most of Florida for Julie. And here in Florida, it is a dwarf tree. It's one of the most dwarf trees that you can grow in Florida, as a matter of fact. In Jamaica, it grows a little more aggressively, and sometimes people are kind of surprised that we consider it a dwarf here. Jamaican people sometimes are, because it grows you know, a little more aggressively there, and that's almost certainly owed to the fact that Jamaica's climate is more tropical than ours. This tree goes dormant in the wintertime and, you know, doesn't really grow much or as much, and it's got very kind of tight internodal spacing between the leaves, and it's very bushy, doesn't really want to grow vertically as much as it wants to grow horizontally. And this tree at this point is, I guess, pushing 9 feet tall, and its neighbors have all been pruned, some of them multiple times since the same planting year. This was planted, I guess, right at the very beginning of 2014. So anyway, this mango definitely has a big following, and it was even used in Gary Zill's hybridization program, so that's how we got mangoes like Juliet, which is right next to us here. Here's a Juliet compared to the Julie. You can see the similarity in the shape. Juliet can get a little fatter and bigger, and it can get bigger as a tree too. And Julie is also the parent of the Super Julie, and a few other varieties also from Gary's hybridization program. So we never planted a lot of Julie because of its reputation for being kind of a shy producer here in Florida, but we do have a couple others that are in the ground as temporary trees planted between other varieties, and we've been getting fruit from those for the last couple of years now. This one's been fruiting a lot longer, of course, because it's older, and I'm glad that we have them. And, you know, would I plant more of them? Probably not. Julies don't have very good shelf life, for one thing. They're soft and they bruise easily, and they're best picked like this when they're not bleeding any sap. They can tree ripen, but they go overripe kind of quickly when they tree ripen, so that's another bit of an issue for somebody that's trying to, you know, grow fruit to sell. But we'll always keep Julie around, and you know.
So is it better to pick them unripe? Or
if you can get them like this, where they're not bleeding any sap,
okay,
they're usually terrific. You can pick them and let them tree ripen. You just gotta eat them quick, because they will go overripe on you within a short couple days.
Now, from what I remember when I was in Jamaica, I'm pretty sure it was a Julie. This is commonly in Jamaica eaten with the skin, this one.
Yeah, you can eat the skin on this mango, and I do it all the time when I happen to eat them. So yes, it does have edible skin. A lot of Jamaicans will eat them that way. It's got, like I said, some fiber, but nothing absurd. Like, you know, I think that people that object to fiber usually won't object to this variety. So it's also, it's also probably the parent of the dwarf Hawaiian mango. I should have mentioned that, talking about things that it's parent of. And because we grow a lot of dwarf Hawaiian, we don't need to grow a lot of Julie, because a lot of customers that love Julie, a lot of Jamaican customers love the dwarf Hawaiian just as much, as it turns out, and it just seems to fruit a little better here, a little more consistently. So,
all right, there's Julie.
So behind me here is one of several Bombay trees that we have here. This variety is also commonly grown in Jamaica, and it is not originally from Jamaica. It was actually brought to Jamaica via India, modern Mumbai, but then known as Bombay. And over in India, this variety is known as Paheri or Paheri. It's also called Raspberry. And they don't get too much bigger than this. And this variety, to me, is kind of the quintessential West Indian flavored mango. It's got a lot of spice. It's got a very noted resin component. It is fiber-free, and so fiber-free that it doesn't really have much in the way of seed fiber. Most mangoes, even fiberless mangoes, will have some seed fiber, but this one is what we'll call a freestone type mango. And honestly, I love this mango. It's got such a rich flavor. It's very consistent year after year. It just tastes so good. This one is ready to pick, so I'll go ahead and pick it. They get a little bit of pink and reddish blush on the top if they're getting good sun exposure. Otherwise, they just kind of turn yellow when they're ripe. And they actually ripen pretty well when they're picked green or tree ripened. So this mango tree ripens great. The problem is if it tree ripens and you don't get it in time and it drops, it's so soft that it doesn't make such a great dropped fruit. So you want to try to pick them when they're ripe on the tree and not let them fall to the ground. That might require you to pick them green. But anyway, in Jamaica, this variety actually doesn't fruit as well as the other varieties we've been discussing. And that's most likely because the area that it's from in India is not quite as tropical as Jamaica, or Florida for that matter. And so here in South Florida, these trees often struggle to flower completely. And this can happen in much of Jamaica too, but it's still grown there. It's not as favored in Jamaica as the East Indian or Julie, but there are people from Jamaica that do like this mango quite a bit. So we have two of them, and we usually call it Bombay rather than Paheri or Raspberry, so that our Jamaican customers know what we're talking about. And it's just got such a nice smell. I really enjoy the aroma of this mango. And, you know, we get fruit from ours. We have two of them. We get fruit from ours every year, both of them. But some years are certainly better than others. This tree had a decent crop this year. This is its second crop. It did bloom twice. So it's on its second crop load here. But we had probably a more substantial crop on this tree last year. In fact, I think we did a video in the Indian mango video, we did talk about this tree, and it had a bigger crop last year, but it did okay this year. And anyway, what else can I say about it? It's monoembryonic, so it does not grow true from seed. It's the parent or likely parent of a couple other varieties that we grow here. Certainly the parent of the ZIL 36-43, which is very similar in flavor but gets larger. It's probably the parent or a parent of the emerald mango. And it's been in Florida quite a while. It was introduced like 124 years ago or something like that. It was introduced both as Paheri and Bombay, so both from India directly and from Jamaica. So for a while it existed here under separate names, and they were thought to be separate varieties, but they're definitely not. They're the same. And so it may have been one of the parents of the Bailey's Marvel mango, as well as possibly a parent of the ZIL mango, the original ZIL variety. It may be one of the parents of Jakarta, which might have been a hybrid of the Kent and the Bombay. So quite a bit of history in Florida, the Bombay mango, and still commonly found in Jamaica as well. I'm not sure which parts of Jamaica they grow it more in, but somebody can comment in the video.
So you pick these ripe or unripe? When's the best time?
Prefer to get them, if I can get them like this, it's great, like right when they break yellow color. Oftentimes, if they turn totally yellow, they're on the ground already, so in which case we don't sell them. So I like to get them like this. You can see the yellow on the kind of on the bottom. Might be kind of difficult to see sometimes depending on the light. We can pick them like this when they're green, and they ripen up okay when the stem has dried out a bit or they're bleeding pretty clear sap. So also you can see the physical similarity between this and the white Paheri that we were talking about in the Mangoes of Hawaii video. Very, very similar parents.
Is one from the other?
This would be the parent of the white Paheri, or a parent of the white Paheri. Most likely, well, almost certainly. So
one of the things they didn't mention was this tree is a super vigorous tree.
Yeah, I should have mentioned that. So one of the problems with Bombay, besides the fact that it doesn't flower so great here in South Florida, is that it is a hyper vigorous mango, not just like a vigorous tree. It is one of the most vigorous mangoes in existence, and not a good choice at all for small yards. So it's more of a collector's mango for sure at this point in Florida. You need some good yard space for this tree. we keep ours like in the 16 feet and under in height and spread range, and they still fruit, but they certainly have been known to flush growth in the wrong time of the year. It can happen with Bombay. So yeah, a good point, Paul. This is one of the most aggressive mango trees that we happen to grow here in Florida.
I know two people that have huge trees and not one mango on them.
It can happen. It helps if they're being well cared for. They're pretty prone to powdery mildew. That's a problem with this variety here in Florida. Anthracnose, not as bad. We don't get really much post-harvest anthracnose on them either here. But the powdery mildew definitely needs to be controlled on these things in order for them to have the best opportunity to produce a good crop. So, or they'll get it like every year. And but the biggest downfall of this variety here, besides its growth, is just it's less willing to flower. Now, in colder areas of Florida, I've seen Bombay trees fruit pretty heavily. And in cold winters, we're talking about a long time ago in South Florida, I've seen Bombay trees fruit really heavily. If they bloom and the powdery mildew doesn't kill them, they can make pretty large crops. So,
all right, and for a note, everybody that's watching, this Bombay mango is probably, from a tasting standpoint, in my top 3 mangoes.
Yeah, it's an excellent mango, for sure. I really like it a lot. Customers like it a lot. I just wish they fruited a little more heavily, more consistently for us. But we do get fruit from them. So.
All right, Bombay mango. All right, here we are from the Nelson mango tree. Go ahead.
Okay, so Nelson is a variety that is from Jamaica and is not very well known in Jamaica. Not too many of our Jamaican customers have heard of it, but some have. And I'm not too sure on the parentage of this variety, but it does have a unique flavor compared to the other Jamaican mangoes. It has kind of a bit of an Indo-Chinese hybrid flavor, but it's very strong and very good. I actually like this mango quite a bit. We have not had it as long as the other varieties. This tree was planted in 2017, so at this point it's approaching 8 years of age or so. And it doesn't have a huge crop this year. It did have multiple blooms, so this fruit that's left in the canopy, and there's maybe like 5 mangoes left or something, is from the second bloom. And it's got a kind of unique shape. It's a little compressed and wide. So this mango, if it gets sun, can turn like an orange color. It doesn't really turn red. You can kind of see a little bit of blush on this side. And the flesh is very firm and not too fibrous. So anyway, it was something that we didn't know anything about really when we planted it, other than that it was from Jamaica. And it turns out it's actually very, very flavorful. Now, how disease resistant is the tree, I'm not too sure. I suspect it probably won't do so great in more humid areas because the fruit can definitely get post-harvest anthracnose pretty bad, and actually the bloom can get some anthracnose here too. But the tree hasn't been overly aggressive. It's got kind of a, I guess I'll call it kind of open canopy. It's not too dense. And it fruited, I think, a little better last year, but like I said, it did have a early crop that's long gone, and what's remaining here is its second crop. So Nelson, very good mango, definitely from Jamaica. What else can I say about it? We're still learning about it. It's only been fruiting for us for like 3 years now or something like that.
What mango would you say a close taste close to? Any of the other Jamaican ones, or what other ones?
I'll tell you what it's like. Flavor-wise, it might be a little closer to maybe like Madame Francis, and I don't mean that in a negative way. It's much better mango than Madame Francis, okay? But it does have that like Indo-Chinese essence to it. So you might draw comparisons to mangoes from that line, like the Zinc and the P22 and things like that. I'm not saying it tastes identical to them either. It's very pungent. and some people might find it a little overpowering. But I like it. When I get a ripe one that I don't feel like selling or whatever, I'll eat it, and it's, I think, pretty good. Now, I've had people tell me that in Jamaica, and actually, you know, I say I put it in that group, but like, it may have some elements to its flavor, and I don't eat these often enough, and I perhaps need to keep these and give them better evaluation. But it may have some of that West Indian spice character to it as well. Another mango that I might compare it to is our Mekong mango here. It's got, you know, some similarity to that too. Probably I need more customers trying it, but you know, I don't have too many fruit on it at the moment. Hopefully in future seasons I'll have more abundant crops. But it's very good, I will say that. I like this mango quite a bit in terms of flavor. So,
is it a vigorous tree or no?
And so far it's only been moderately vigorous, I suppose. Hasn't been terribly aggressive. You know, it's smaller than the Phoenix over there that was planted the same day, smaller than some of the other stuff around here. But it's not a dwarf.
You can pick them when they're ripe or unripe, or?
So far we've let them tree ripen. I haven't experimented too much with picking them early.
Do you know the Parrington or what?
Somebody told me that they thought it was a hybrid of the East Indian and the Kit.
Okay.
And I don't know. I remember being told that. So I need to research this mango a little more and talk to more people from Jamaica about it.
Is that the average size of them?
Yeah, it's a nice size fruit. It's more than medium size, I would say.
Do you think they look like, the shape looks a little like a buttercream, or?
Yeah, kind of, but it's more compressed than a buttercream. A buttercream is wider.
Buttercream,
So we can come on this side and you can look at some of the fruit here. There's a couple more of them over here. Oops, I just broke this branch.
Like a flat buttercream.
Yeah, it's very interesting shape, right?
Yeah.
Kind of bumpy. And
so do they stay green? I see a little yellow.
No. They turn yellow.
Okay.
When they're ripe, they'll turn yellow and get some orange. Actually, it's very common for them to get some orange color.
And the flesh inside is what, yellow, orange?
No, it's orange.
Orange.
Yeah,
nice.
it has an orange flesh.
Very nice.
Yeah. So,
all right, Nelson.
Yep, Nelson from Jamaica.
Okay.
Okay, this mango behind us is known in Jamaica as the Stringy, and it's very commonplace in Jamaica. Some people there like it, some people aren't a fan of it. Here in Florida, we call this mango turpentine. In Jamaica, there is a turpentine mango, a mango with the name turpentine that is not this mango. So when we refer to turpentine mango here in Florida, we are referring to the mango in Jamaica known as the Stringy. And this is a little on the larger size. They can get smaller than this a lot of the time. And we don't have too many left at this point in the season. But here's a cluster of them here. Oops. Well, anyway, here we don't typically eat this mango. We usually use it as rootstock because it makes a terrific rootstock, and it usually fruits quite abundantly. But in Jamaica, some people eat it. So it's extremely fibrous, as you would expect. And it has what we'll call a classic flavor. It's not like resinous necessarily. The name would suggest that it is, right? Well, the turpentine name would. But it's really not. At least this version of it isn't. There are certainly lots of seedling turpentine / stringy mangoes out there, and some of them are, there's some differentiation between them. We'll put it that way. But this is the most common iteration, I would say, of the stringy / turpentine, as we call it. So very commonplace in Jamaica. They're all over the place there. And I've had Jamaican customers that absolutely love the stringy, and some that just view it as kind of a trash mango. So there's some controversy there amongst Jamaican customers for sure. And if we put them up for sale, they would get bought. But we don't sell our turpentines / stringies anymore. So we use them for rootstock.
Now, do the other Jamaican mangoes make good rootstock, or is it just this one?
I haven't tested out. Julie sometimes makes runny seedlings. I guess I've planted some of them, but sometimes they grow more robustly. I haven't tried to grow East Indian, and I would be a little concerned because it's a kind of a disease-prone tree, like using it for rootstock, you know, because you want your rootstock to be nice and healthy. So, but these make really nice, healthy rootstock. And they're polyembryonic, so that means they grow true from seed. And these have a pretty high rate of coming true. Like it's over 80%, better than certain other polyembryonic mangoes for sure. And they'll give us like multiple shoots. So anyway.
It's really old here in Florida, this tree, right?
Sure. This variety was brought to Florida via actually Cuba rather than Jamaica, but it had been in the Caribbean for probably centuries already. In the later 1800s, like 1860 something, Dr. Fletcher brought it probably from Cuba and probably by seed, but it was already in Jamaica well before then. So probably spread by, you know, both the British and the Spanish, and maybe the French too. So.
Wow. Okay. Turpentine.
Yeah. Stringy for this video.
Right.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about a couple Jamaican varieties that we have, but we have not planted yet. We have them growing in 3 or 7 gallon pots or something right now. One of them is the Blackie. Blackie is a, I think we have photographs of the fruit on our website, but it's a small mango, pretty decently flavored, somewhere walks the line between a classically flavored mango and a West Indian flavored mango. Very prolific. In Jamaica, sometimes it's called Blackie or black mango. Sometimes it's called green gauge mango. And there might even be people that will argue that there's a difference or something like that, but I've had enough Jamaicans insist to me that they're the same thing. So it depends on what part of Jamaica that you're in. The other one we have is Millie. So we're going to plant a Millie tree. I have eaten Millie. It's a small yellow mango that's very fibrous but extremely sweet. So we're going to plant our Millie pretty soon, if we haven't already. Besides that, there's some varieties that we would like to obtain and plant. So amongst them are the number 11. Number 11 was brought to Jamaica a very long time ago. There's a story behind that. So these seedlings were on a ship that got seized, I think by the British, and they were numbered. So I guess 1 through whatever. And number 11 was the one that became successful in Jamaica. And that's a mango that's kind of shaped like our peach mango here in Florida. So it's kind of shaped a little bit like this, but without the knack too much. And it turns kind of a yellowish green color when it's ready. And I've eaten it, and it's pretty good, but some people object to this bitterness it has near the seed. So not all Jamaicans love the number 11, but there are ones that do. Another one that we'd like to get is the robin. So I've never tried the robin. I knew a guy that had a tree out in Loxahatchee, but I'm not even sure if he's still out there anymore. But that's a variety in Jamaica, the robin. Another one's called Sweetie Come Brush Me. And then there's a mango called Graham, which is different from the Graham that we grow here. The Graham we have in Florida is known in Trinidad, is where it's from originally. But the Graham they have in Jamaica, I believe they grow it in like the area of St. Elizabeth, and that Graham is different from the Trini Graham. So those are a few Jamaican varieties that we would like to trial out here. There's certainly more than that in Jamaica. There's tons of other mangoes with local names, and you know, I don't know all the colloquialisms, but there's certainly a wide range of stuff they grow there. Not all of them are well suited to South Florida because we are a little more wet than they are, and maybe some of them will encounter more disease here, but anyway, that's the Jamaican mangoes.
We're more wet than Jamaica?
Yeah, during the mango season, we certainly are. We get a little bit more rainfall, and we get a little more disease, and that's why the East Indian doesn't do as well here. We're more humid when the tree is actually flowering and fruiting. So in Jamaica, typically the East Indian trees aren't having to be too worried about that stuff most years. But here it's a problem, especially in more humid areas. So yeah, there's a difference for sure. There's also a difference in soil and stuff like that too. So not just rainfall, but some of them do okay here.
I was going to ask you about the seasons, because like here we have our mango season. Over there, is it similar? There's an early, late,
in Jamaica,
middle, or is it
in Jamaica they get mangoes kind of throughout the year, but their main season is in the summer, like it is here. But they'll have like Julie mangoes in December or something like that, when you won't necessarily find them here, and that's because their mangoes will flower off of periods of drought stress that we don't necessarily experience as frequently here. So you can find mangoes in Jamaica often in different parts of the year. So their mango season isn't quite as defined as it is here, where like it's 90-something% of the mangoes are coming between the months of May and August or September. So, but they do, I think, get most of their fruit in like the later spring and early summer. So in terms of volume.
Sure. Well, I know in India they have a lot of farms, mango farms. I know in Hawaii we're speaking a lot of people that weren't even familiar with a lot of the Hawaiian mangoes. What about Jamaica? Are people familiar with the varieties you just said? And also, do they have farms where they're growing these varieties? Are these just backyard?
No, there are definitely mango farms in Jamaica. Some of them are exporting farms, in fact. They've tried to export some Jamaican mangoes to North America with some difficulty, I think. Yeah, there's tons of people with backyard trees in Jamaica. Mango trees are extremely common in Jamaica. As far as recognizing the varieties, most Jamaicans know East Indian, Julie, maybe they know the Stringy and the Bombay, but they aren't necessarily familiar with some of the other ones we've talked about, some of the more obscure ones, like I mentioned Nelson. Most Jamaican customers haven't heard of that mango, but I've encountered some percentage of them that have. And like how widely are some of these other mangoes grown in Jamaica or on farms and stuff, I'm not sure, but there are certainly people down there that are mango aficionados, collectors that have tons of varieties just like we do here. And of course, those people have, all the obscure stuff as well. So yeah, I would say like the vast majority of Jamaicans though definitely have an appreciation for mango. And even if they only know a couple varieties, like they are amongst our customers, I would say people from Jamaica are maybe the most passionate about mango in terms of seeking them out. Like they seek out mango even more than people from other countries in the world that have mangoes commonly.
Sure. All right. Well, thank you for talking about the Jamaican mangoes. Everybody, if you want to get these, the link's below. Alex has budwood, he has the trees, and he also has the fruit during the season at Tropical Acres Farms.
Yep, we can make any of these trees for you if you're interested in getting a grafted tree.
All right, thanks a lot. All right, everybody, that was mangoes from Jamaica here, Tropical Acres Farms. I'm going to put the link below. And again, if you want to get one of these mangoes, they can make the tree here for you through their budwood and grafts. They can mail you the budwoods, or you could just order the mangoes during season, right?
Yep. We do all that stuff.
You mentioned early and mid. Are there late season Jamaican mangoes?
In Jamaica, there certainly are. Here, the varieties that we have, the latest are probably the Nelson and the Bombay. East Indian and Julie are early season mangoes. They're true early season mangoes. So if you're getting later ones, it's only because of a second bloom. But unfortunately, we only have so many Jamaican varieties here, not nearly the amount of Jamaican types that they actually grow in Jamaica. So it would be interesting to learn from other people in Jamaica what some of their later season varieties happen to be. So
we have early and we have late. Is there a common mid-season one of the ones you mentioned today?
Well, the Bombay is certainly a mid-season mango in my opinion. Obviously, we still have them in season a little bit. So yes, I would say Bombay is a true mid-season type. And I think the Nelson is more of a mid-season mango as well.
And like I said, I've tasted many mangoes and I continue to taste some. And I'd say in my top 3 mangoes, Bombay taste-wise would be right up there. So if you get an opportunity, if they sell a box on their website that has Bombay in it, definitely make sure you get it. Get all of the Jamaican varieties. You should taste every one, especially if you want to plant a tree. You should taste them first, and thanks to Tropical Acres Farms, you get an opportunity to taste them. So we'll be doing other countries as well, but I was so excited we got Jamaica done because many of you asked for it. So now we got it done, and thank you very much for your time, Alex. Everybody, the links are below. Thanks for watching, and if you've tasted these mangoes before and you have a comment about them, please post them below. Until then, everybody, have a great day and keep growing. More educational videos about mangoes and other fruits and how to grow fruit trees. Please look out the other videos on this channel, Fruitful Trees, and also subscribe if you like, and also share these videos with others. Thank you for watching. Have a great day and keep growing.